welcome to month 7 of our 2023 $5 Quilt Club. We are going to be doing foundation paper piecing, or if you'd like, you can choose to print the templates and just do fusible applique. We will not have a video for that, and there will not be enough fabric in your kit. Well, there's only a strip of fabric in your kit, so there's not a square if you wanted to do applique. So in this month, we are going to be doing foundation paper piecing. This one is only 3 pieces, so it's not nearly as bad as some other months. We do have to piece our pieces together. So your kit will have one long strip of black, a long strip of purple, and it will also have a square, which I lost mine in transit, so I'm using a scrap of something that I have laying around. So unfortunately, I don't have the exact same fabrics, but it will still work the same. So you will have 3 sheets that you print out, and we are going to tape them together or glue them together. I don't have any tape right offhand, so I'm going to cut this line off of one of these sheets here so that I can glue the pieces together, and then we can get started. So now we're just going to line it up so that everything lines up. So I'm just going to put some glue right down. Wow, my glue stick's dried out. Okay, that's not going to be super effective, but probably be good enough. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to line that up so that everything is nice and straight, just like that. And then now I can cut my pieces out. So I'm just going to roughly cut them out here. I'm not going to worry about too much on the exact pieces because we're just going to cut it off perfectly with the ruler later. So I get these cut out. This is such a fun block. It's just like a traditional star. So I thought it would be really fun to use a solid around a pretty print to frame it off. I think it will look great. Okay, that is done. And then we need to throw away the other ones. Oh, I take it back. There's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. Okay, 4 pieces. So, but it makes a really cool block. So I could see making a quilt just out of these star blocks. They're just so fun. So, okay, let's get started. We'll go ahead and get started with piece A, and then we'll move on to B, C, and D. So we are going to, these are printed in color. So you can see where your purple is going to go, and then your black is that light gray. So, all right. Okay, now for the fun. Okay, just like always, we're going to start with A, 1, 2, then 3. So A1 is black. So I'm going to take my black piece. If you're worried about the salvage getting caught into your piece, go ahead and snip that off ahead of time so that you know it's not going to be included in your finished project, because it just never looks great. So I'm just going to cut that off real quick. Oops. So that I know it's not going to be there. And then I'm going to lay this down right here and put a dab of glue on it. Now is a great time to go and get some glue sticks because it's back to school and they're on sale. So they're usually about 50 cents a piece, and it's so perfect. I usually stock up in July and August, and it usually lasts me until the next year. So I have that glued down so I can roughly cut out my piece here. So there we go. We have A1 all set. And so now I'm going to go ahead and fold on the line between A1 and A2. And then I can trim this piece right here to be 1/4 inch so that it's exactly the size I need it. Just going to use 1/4 inch rulers, work out really nice for that. So, or you can just use a regular ruler, just like that. And then we can now cut a piece that is going to cover A2. So I'm just going to roughly set that on there so that I'm going to put this long edge along this edge here and then cut that out. So this way, and then make sure it goes a 1/4 inch past this line. So I'm going to bring it all the way out to here, make a tiny little snip, and then just go all the way across. So I know that's going to be large enough to cover that whole area. Looks great. Since these are solids, they're really nice that there is no right or wrong side, so it makes it a little bit nicer when you are cutting. So I want to make sure that this purple piece is going to be completely covered by this here. So I'm going to bring out my light so that I can hold this up to that and see that that is going to be covering that whole area. So if it's really bright out, you can stick it on a window. If you have a light box, it's really nice and helpful. If you don't, you can just peel back your edges and make sure that, let's see, this is right here. Make sure that is large enough on all sides, 1/4 inch on all sides. Don't forget to, I moved my laser here. Don't forget to change your stitch length. You want to make sure that it is at about 1.5, 1.3, really small, so that that paper will tear really nice and easily. So I'm going to just, I got this new laser, I'm super excited about it. So I'm going to move it so that it is directly on my seam right here, right down the center, not on the 1/4 inch over here. So that way I can keep the whole thing lined all the way up. Just cinch that into place. Just gotta tighten the screw so it stays. Oops. And it moves while I'm tightening. Okay, so here we go. Alright, so probably gonna move on to sewing too. Okay, so okay, a little bit past the line is where we want to go. A1 and A2. So now I can open that up and I can flatten that out nicely with my iron. If you do not have an iron, you know, hot iron ready to use, you can finger press, or you can also use, my roller's usually over here, and it's not. Okay, so, or you can just use your, if you have a wood roller, you can roll your seam so that it's nice and flat. What you don't want to do is sew without it being there, so that you won't get your nice sharp crisp points lining up with your next pieces, because this isn't pushed all the way that way. Okay, so once that one is done, then we can go ahead and move on to A3. I'm going to tear the paper slightly so that I can get a nice good crease line right here. Push that there. And then now I have the line to go ahead and trim. All right. Line up my 1/4 inch. Trim all the way over. Oops. Let me try that again. I gotta have the fabric all folded in the right direction. That way I can trim it. I only got the black. Okay. There we go. So now I have a 1/4 inch all the way across. Glue is kind of annoying. Okay, now I have to cut a piece of black that will cover that entire piece there. So grab my black that I have here, and then I want to cut a piece that is a 1/4 inch that covers this entire area. So it's pretty much the width of that whole thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just snip it here. So I know I have plenty of black to work with. So that will cover, it's obviously large enough over this whole folded down piece. Now I can open up the piece and I can go ahead and just stitch all the way on that line. There we go. I'll unplug my laser because I really don't need it right now. Okay. All right, now I have the entire piece done on A. So now I can go ahead and trim up my sides. I do want to press this because we don't want to push this down or press it so that it's not completely pulled back, because we will not get sharp, crisp points. So you can see, even though I'm using white thread on this black project, you cannot see my thread at all because my stitch length is so tiny. So I honestly would probably prefer to use a gray thread so that it's a little bit more neutral for the purple and the black, so it's not showing up too much on the purple or too much on the black. But I'm just going to use what I have in my machine. and I don't see my thread, so it's not a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this guy up here. I don't have a whole lot of room over here, but we'll make it work. Okay, so I'm just going to use this ruler here to trim my block. I'm going to follow the lines that are on there. Oops. Okay. My ruler's not quite long enough, but we're getting there. Okay. And then this one, I do like to put my 1/4 inch line directly on the pattern line so that it will make sure that it's 1/4 inch from the edge. So it is nice to have a longer ruler so you don't have to reposition, but this works. It's one of my favorite size rulers. It's a 2.5 by, I think, 6. Okay, just like that. So you're just going to repeat all of those steps, always following the order that is written on there. So now we're going to do the exact same thing. B1, B2, B3, then the same with C and D, and then we'll have a video for assembly.